Why are we so scared of everything? What the hell is wrong? What is wrong? Who can think of a scared thought right now? Raise your hand if you have a scared thought right now, just anything. What if I don't, even if it's about later this week or this year? Raise your hand if you have that. Isn't that weird? What a delusion we're in. You know, people always go, that's great, Kyle, but what about the real world? Where I go back home and spend 99% of my day fantasizing about everything that could go wrong. The real world. Where my mind creates problem after problem all day, and I worship how politicians are about to ruin the planet, and I keep thinking of all the ways that I'm going to fall apart. What about that, Kyle? What about the real world, where I sit on my couch, where I'm completely safe, where nothing actually bad is happening, but I'm creating thought after thought after thought that is total fantasy, but a fear-based fantasy out of habit that I could totally conquer if I wanted to by just focusing on what actually is real right now. What about that, Kyle? What about the real world? People love to call people who focus on what actually is true delusional, and call their weird, chaotic, survival, horrifying place the real world. What's actually real right now? Every thought that you raised your hand about isn't happening right now. In fact, you're probably creating it. Half the crap that's going on is just our creation, because you could be creating anything right now, but instead we're creating how it could go wrong and then fixing it. So even if it's something simple, you're going to go on a date and you start thinking, like, what if I have diarrhea in the middle of the date? What if they can tell that I'm having diarrhea on the date? Then your mind comes up with the solution to the magical problem you just created. So you're on a date like, oh, this is a diarrhea-free smile. Do you have pets? So you create how it could go wrong with your magical mind before it ever happened, and then you create a solution which makes the person across from you go, does this person have diarrhea? Because no actual diarrhea-free person would sit like this. So that's the real world. That's what people say at the end of the event. Well, that's great, but what happens when I go back to the real world? What if the fact that you're breathing right now, which we've focused on none, and that your heart's been beating while we've been crazy to it, and your body's digesting, is legitimately real. You have evidence of that. But we never focus on it. We never just actually focus on the space that we're sitting in. We never focus on the real world, that we're really actually very safe. I'm not saying there aren't things that come up, but I wonder if we focused on how safe we were and that there's something beating our heart, how many things we'd have that would create an abundance for ourselves that would not even make problems exist. Not in the same way, at least. But if you're in the world where you're constantly finding what's wrong with everything, and then fixing it so that your ego feels like it's not dying, then you're actually in the delusional world.